All right, Alexander. So we did a video on Ursula von der Leyen, the EU head honcho, the chief of the nation of the European Union. And we talked about how incompetent the entire EU bureaucracy was in dealing with the shot and rolling it out and just the whole thing. I mean, they've just shown how incompetent they are. We highlighted how this is really nothing new because anything the EU touches and anything they put their mind towards always ends up becoming a complete mess. They're just not good at anything. I mean, these people are really just not good at anything. They're good at actually screwing things up. And they did the same thing with the shot. But it looks like von der Leyen has now recognized this, or I would say that she's probably more worried that people want her out. And so she's groveling to try and keep her job. And so she has issued an apology. And I'm on the Daily Mail, and it says, the title of the Daily Mail says, quote, "We were late and overconfident. Ursula von der Leyen issues groveling apology over the EU's shot shambles, admitting the bloc is still not," there's a quote, "still not where we want to be." As the UK rollout surges ahead, that is the Daily Mail's title. We called it. We called it. We said that she should be fired, she should be let go, or at the very least, she should apologize. They all should apologize because they all sucked. They all sucked in this endeavor.
Absolutely. Can I just say, I mean, this was obviously a forced apology. There are, in fact, calls, especially in Germany now, for her to resign. And remember, she's a German politician, so she's particularly sensitive to what people in Germany say. So she's been forced to come to the European Parliament and give an apology there. But when you actually unpack the words of her apology and what she actually says, you can see immediately that she doesn't really mean it. It's just a form of words, a ritual she has engaged in order to get herself out of trouble. And I mean, she says, you know, that mistakes were made. I'll quote her exact words. "We are still not where we want to be. We were late to authorize. We were too confident when it came to massive production. And perhaps," notice the word perhaps we were too confident that what we ordered would actually be delivered on time. Now, that's not really an apology. That's an attempt to shift the blame onto other people. That's to say we trusted in other people and our trust was misplaced, but really blamed them, not me. And then she goes on to say, "The bottom line is that mistakes were made in the process leading up to the decision, and I deeply regret that. But in the end, we got it right." Those are her words. In the end, we got it right. What did she get right? What did she get right? I mean, we're looking at a debacle. We're looking at a fiasco. You're absolutely right in saying we called it. We said that whatever Ursula von der Leyen touches turns to dust. Whatever the European Commission touches, it turns to dust. And yet, she says, she comes along, she says that she's sorry, but not sorry for anything she's done. She's sorry about the fact that she trusted, or so she says, in other people. And she goes on to say, in the end, we got it right. What did she get right? I can't see that she got anything in this affair right. But clearly, she's not resigning. Clearly, she's not going. Merkel apparently still backs her. So that means that there's no chance of her being sacked. And we will continue to see Ursula von der Leyen going on from here, making one mistake after another, adding to the catalogue of disaster that the European Union specialises in nowadays, and being promoted. Because that's what invariably happens to these people. The more they fail, the more they succeed, the more disasters the cause, the higher they rise. I would not be at all surprised if we saw her president of the World Bank or Secretary General of the UN or in some other similar elevated position before very long.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Merkel put her up to this, and yeah, she says, "I'm sorry, but I didn't do anything wrong." That's pretty much how she phrases it out. So yeah, I mean, it's all about having her take some of the heat, taking some of the heat off of her, and she tries to place the blame elsewhere.
Absolutely.
But she knows that she's screwed up. She knows that she's incompetent, and she knows that she's in way over her head. But this reeks of Merkel. This all reeks of Merkel behind all of this. And you're right. She's going to get promoted up. But after they're done destroying the EU and destroying every institution because they run it into the ground, where up are they going to get promoted to? There is not going to be any more up.
Well, that's exactly true. I mean, that ultimately is exactly what's going to happen. In fact, I was reading in a very interesting article by Ambrose Evans Pritchard in the Daily Telegraph, saying, that we got, all these people in Davos now. This is, the World Economic Forum people, the people who are all into the Great Reset and all that. They're all becoming increasingly nervous. They think that things are, in danger of falling apart. But Ursula von der Leyen, I'm sure, is not one of these, because she is so insulated from the consequences of failure that she doesn't really care. And yes, one day, I've no doubt, it will all unravel. But think of the damage and the harm that is being done along the way. So, I mean, she comes up with, preposterous comments like this. There's another one that she said, industry has to match the groundbreaking pace of science. That's what she says to the European Parliament. I mean, what kind of comment is that? What does that even mean? Tell me what it means in this context. Again, it's clearly an attempt to blame the companies for the fact that, things haven't worked out as she'd intended. But then, of course, why has the European Union failed where the United States has succeeded? Where Britain has succeeded, where Russia has succeeded? What was it about Europe, the European Union, which it got right, and which all of these other countries which are rolling out their products got wrong? Tell me what the European Union has managed to get right here, because I can't see anything. I really don't see anything at all. And yet we see her friend and supporter Manfred Weber, leader of the Christian Democrat European People's Party in the European Parliament, friend of Merkel, friend of Ursula von der Leyen. He comes and supports her. He said, the key decisions were right. That's what he said. What were those? What were those key decisions which were right? How have they turned out to be right? How did the European people, the people of Europe, don't call them the European people, they're the people of Europe, the people of the various countries that make up Europe. How do they perceive that these things were right? You've told me yourself, you're in Cyprus. How has these right decisions impacted there? You've told me how you could have obtained the Cyprus government, if it had been given the green light, could have obtained help from other countries, from the United States perhaps, from Russia very probably, from wherever. Tell me in what way people in Cyprus, in Greece, in France, in Germany, everywhere, see these decisions as right. And yet, that is what Ursula von der Leyen says, that's what Manfred Weber says, and no doubt that's what Angela Merkel also says. Mistakes were made, but clearly not by us. Those mistakes must have been made by other people because industry has not yet matched the groundbreaking pace of science. I mean, it's just so absurd, so ludicrous that one doesn't know whether to laugh or, in this terrible situation, to cry.
Yeah. Well, about about a month and a half ago, like I said, they were all, they got all the cameras there and they rolled all of this out to all the 27 countries and they were making a big deal about it and all the world leaders were getting their shots and, all the press was there, and it was the defeating the unknown enemy, the enemy that you can't see, and we've defeated it as the European Union. And here in Cyprus and in Greece, all the leaders were coming out and making these great speeches about the solidarity of the European Union and how solidarity of the EU has defeated, the enemy. That was a catchphrase here, the enemy you can't see. And that was the whole shtick. And they just, I don't care what they say. It's on film. It's on tape. We've got it. And they all look freaking stupid now. So she can come and, she makes these dumb apologies, and she's trying to keep her job, her cushy job, where she does absolutely nothing. It gets paid a crap load of money, but they're incompetent, and they are going to run Europe into the ground. With each successive group of EU leaders is literally worse than the previous. I mean, literally. And it shocks me that world leaders of sovereign nations actually follow these people's advice. It really shocks me.
You are absolutely right about this. I mean, I would say this. I mean, Juncker, who was her predecessor, he was apparently a heavy drinker, and there's some suggestions that he was worse than that. He was completely incompetent. He might very well even have been corrupt in some ways. But people who know him and spoke with him tell me that he was actually, when you met him, a nice man. Ursula is all the same things that Juncker was, all the same bad things that Ursula was, but nobody ever says that she's at all nice. In fact, she's worse. Every iteration of the European Commission is a little worse than its predecessors. So the Juncker Commission was worse than its predecessors, and von der Leyen Commission is worse than the Juncker Commission. And the next commission that will come after that is going to be worse still. And all of these people will fail, and yet they will succeed. They will go on rising, and they will continue, despite the absurdity of going on the cameras and saying, a month ago that, we've achieved this enormous success against the invisible enemy, when in fact they've achieved this extraordinary failure. But, the next set of commissioners in similar situations will do exactly the same thing all over again and again and again and again until, as you rightly said, there's nothing left.
Yeah. Just a bunch of very unimpressive people. Really, a bunch of very unimpressive people that couldn't probably get a job if they were out in the real world. They would have troubles actually getting real employment. Absolutely, because of course the European Commission doesn't want competent people. That seems to me absolutely clear. I mean, if you're good at your job, if you know your job, then don't go to the European Commission. Don't ask Angela Merkel to appoint you. There's a very famous. There was a book I read many years ago about the Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie, and I mean this is probably not true. It was an apocryphal story, but supposedly it said that he didn't like good ministers. He wanted bad ministers because if he was aware that he wasn't particularly good at what he was doing, so he didn't want people around him who were actually better than himself. He wanted people even worse than himself, and it seems to me that this is how Angela Merkel, who will, to be very clear, is the real leader of the European Union, actually works. She doesn't want good people in the Commission. She wants bad people, incompetent people in the Commission. Because if they had good people in the Commission, people who knew their jobs, well, they might actually start thinking and doing things for themselves. So Merkel and the other European leaders who are part of this project won't appoint them. And of course, if you really appointed good people to the Commission, talented, capable, competent people, they might come round and, horror of horrors, say, well, we can't do these things in the Commission because we are not fit to do those things. We don't have the resources, we don't have the logistical knowledge, we shouldn't be doing them anyway because they are properly done by the real national governments in the European member states, who are the sovereign entities that have the capabilities to do these things properly. And that, of course, if you think those kind of heresies,
you cannot be appointed to the commission at all. And that excludes anybody with even basic levels of competence.
All right, so the final question I have to ask this. That's what separates leaders like Merkel from leaders like Putin. When you look at, who Merkel surrounds herself with, and then you look at, a leader like Putin, and, he's got Lavrov there. There you understand what being a good manager is about, and you look at Merkel and you understand what being a bad manager is about. And it also comes through with this whole debacle, because there was, a few months ago, they were all making fun of Sputnik 5, and they were making fun of Russia, and they say, a Russian shot, and everyone was laughing. Everyone was saying, they can't make it, and it won't be good. It's probably, made of like salt water or something like that. And everyone was laughing. And now who's going to Russia and who's begging Russia for the shot? Who is begging Russia for the shot? Now, this is the point. They are arrogant. They're unimpressive. They're some of them are just downright not intelligent, and they don't know how to run things. They're not professional managers. They're not professional leaders. And it really does take experience and talent to really manage people and to be a professional manager and a real leader. Some people are born with the traits, but it really does take experience and hard work to get there. They're just not fit for the job.
Absolutely correct, and that's entirely right. Now, can I just say, if you take the individual countries of Europe one by one, it is incredible that France, the country of Louis Pasteur, hasn't been able to come up with a product. Germany, of course, has, but it can't use it because the European Union has messed things up so profoundly. So, if they have to turn to Russia, as you correctly said, denigrating Russia and its product in the way that they did, and it seems they are actually now turning to Russia. Josep Borrell was actually in Moscow. I've done programs about his visit on my channel, but apparently one of the things he was sort of floating was actually, obtaining Sputnik V. And Sputnik V apparently rather than Sputnik 5, but it's the same thing. And apparently there's talk now having it registered in the European Union and arranging for co-production facilities. Well, if I was the European Union, I would be embarrassed and ashamed to be in that situation. The European Union has made such a complete debacle of this that they have to turn to Russia after they've sort of ridiculed the Russians as well. And you ought to be learning lessons. But of course, no lessons will be learned because, as Ursula von der Leyen has said, and as Manfred Weber has said, they did things right. All the right decisions were made.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's going to be a lot of elections in Europe coming up, and it's going to be interesting to see how the people vote. Like Netherlands, for example, if they vote Rutte in again. This is the part that frustrates you. There are, on the one hand, you say, okay, Europe probably there are no leaders in Europe to step up, but on the other hand, you get the same people coming over and over again, no matter how incompetent they are. It's like a vicious circle that you can't break out of.
Yes. Well, exactly. The system reproduces itself. And unfortunately, the way European electoral politics are now organised or arranged makes it incredibly difficult to break through. Can I just say, that's the one thing these people are good at. They are extremely skillful at the kind of intrigues and manoeuvres needed to keep this thing on the road. They're not actually good at governing, but they're good at keeping themselves where they are and rising. And we will see what happens in these elections, whether finally the point has been reached where people across Europe say, enough. I hope so. I'd like to believe so, but we will see.
All right, we'll leave it there. Alexander Beckers, thank you very much. Guys, look for us on Rumble, on BitChute, and on Odyssey. You'll find those links down below. Please look for us on those platforms and join us there. And also go to the Duran shop, pick up some great merch. We've got great long sleeve sweatshirts, mugs, all kinds of great things.
Fantastic things. And we look forward to seeing you on our next program. And please also check us out on our other programs and also our other platforms, as Alex said. And have a great day.
All right. All those links are down below, guys. Take care.